Hey everyone, welcome back. Using demo and tools to learn CISSP. My name is Chen Chang, Microsoft Azure MVP AWS Certificate Solution Professional. In the past two domains, the domain 3 and domain 4, we have already got the idea about what is the certificate, what about the encryption, decryption, signature, and in the domain 4, everything is about the uh, network, and I demoed some very classical attack and recon using the Cisco model, the Cisco CCNA security module level 2, all about the layer 2, but doesn't mean if you have already hardened the level 2, your network is security. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't just focus on the level 2 and even the level 3, level 4, or the level 7 application. There's a lot of job to do, long way to go. And in the CISSP domain 5, identification and access management, I will show you some very basic authentication models, such as today I will show you the HTTP basic authentication. And I will use the one very famous and popular web frame, Django, to tell you how to implement the authentication by Django built-in module. And we will also use the third-party, the OAuth model to make the authentication for Django. And we will touch base the Active Directory, ADFS, which is very popular in 10 years before, and now everything turned to cloud. Maybe the AAD here, the AAD. Also, we should have the idea of the AAA. AAA means authentication, authorization, and audit. And Redis is a very typical AAA component, or we can consider it as the industry standard, Redis. Also, the MFA, multiple factor authentication, is very important now because the network security issue should be considered the first priority in every one of us, no matter from the company or the individual. So the Google authenticator from our phone. Also, we can use the Azure 2FA to make the Windows to be hardened than before. Okay, so that's the briefing part. And web authentication. So that's our process and the logic. We will start from the HTTP basic using the Apache as our demo, and the second one we will use the Django. Django is a very famous Python web frame. We will show you how to use the Django built-in function to write the authentication module code. And if we want to harden it, we will leverage the third party. We will use the GitHub login module. Okay. HTTP basic authentication. It is a bit kind of out of date because it's just defined as a HTTP protocol standard. And from our previous lessons, as we all know, the HTTP is not as safe as the HTTPS because everything inside the HTTP protocol is transparent. So we can use the Wireshark to capture the packet and read it as the plain text, just I showed you before. And HTTP basic, we will build a simple demo Apache website and set it. By default, if we enable or install Apache, we start the service, it will not require us to input the username and the password, but we can enable the basic authentication function to ask the server to make the authentication for us. Then we will use the Wireshark or the Chrome to track the packet or the net flow to see the process. In general, the process will have four main processes. The request get, you see the first one, our client will request the resources, and the first response will be challenged for one an awesome. So it will give us the pop-out windows. Everyone will be very familiar with the pop-out window from the Windows or from the Linux, from Mac, and then we will input the correct username and password. And after everything, we will get the success, and this one is very famous. The HTTP head code 200, and another one is more famous, I think, is the 404, right? Okay, so the 200 means okay. So I will not talk about too much about the HTTP protocol because it's a long story, long knowledge book to teach. Okay, so if you have any interest, you can take a look the two books, the HTTP 1 and HTTP 2. Also, we give them a very famous nickname, three squirrels, because the HTTP 1, the cover, it have one squirrel. Okay, let's take a look. And the HTTP 2, it will give you two squirrels. So if you have a good control of these three squirrels, I think you will have a very good understanding of the HTTP protocol. So you see, our logic comes from the OSI module, from the OSI 7 levels or TCP/IP. But now it's the high level, just that we are in the domain 5, so we should put more focus on the application. So it will talk about HTTP, okay? And from our demo environment, it's very simple. This is an Apache server, and I have already enabled the authentication module. I will use the nano Apache to site enable. Site enable is our default location. So this configuration file is our default configuration files for our site. You see, we have already added this authentication code. It will require us to input the username and password, and from this code, we'll know this code will only for this location, the HTTP, the www/html/secret, only dedicated for this folder, and also type basic, also user files. So this .ht access, we have already configured our username and password. So that's all. Once we parse the authentication, we will get the web page, vice versa. Okay, let's take a look. So this the very classified web page. Everyone, I think most of you are familiar with the 401. Okay, authorization. Then we will refer again. I will type the username and okay, we got it. So this is the very quite simple demo. We parsed the authentication, and we got our right page. So during the authentication process, I have already used Wireshark and Chrome to get password from HTTP basic authentication. As I mentioned, the HTTP basic is not a very safe, because everything by HTTP is plain text. So we can show from our Wireshark we can capture all the 4 steps. The first step is the request, and with the forward, and we input our correct username and password and get the 200, right? So from this one, we can show that it will get the plain text admin and admin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So that's the very quite basic, and I think which is out of date, but we have to know what it is, right? Because it is implemented by the protocol itself, not by the third party or by the some other modules. It only implemented by the protocol. So we have to know this. Quite simple, but quite important. Okay, see you next time.